Welcome to Comic Books and Chill, a place to sit back and relax and chop it up about comics. We're the Stats Bros. I'm Mike, chilling with Chris.
Welcome to the show, fam.
And man, we've been on the roll with these guests on the Talking Box. We started it off with Chris Johnson, Rodney Barnes, David Varon, and now we have fan favorite artist and colorist Brad Anderson.
Woo!
You already know he did a fantastic job on the hit comic book miniseries, The Three Jokers. And Chris, what you want to know about Brad?
Well, first off, I'd like to learn more about his art process, how he does it as a colorist, and then also I'm hoping to learn some more information about the new series Geiger, where he's teaming up with Jeff Johns and Gary Frank.
Man, the Geiger's gonna be dope. That Image series, I'm kind of shocked that it's gonna be on Image and not DC,
right.
But we'll talk about that later, right? I personally want to find out about these three Joker variants. What was once 6 total covers is now 22. And I got them all. I think I need 3 Jokers Anonymous, you know what I'm saying? Well, before we bring Brad on, we would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment.
Yes.
We're about to get into the Talking Box with Brad Anderson. This is Comic Books and Chill. Our next guest on the Talking Box is one of the creators of the highest selling comic book of 2020, Three Jokers. He is the colorist for top selling titles like Justice League Darkseid War, Batman Dark Knight 3, DK3, and Doomsday Clock. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube land, we bring to you one of the hardest working people in the comic book industry, straight out of Canada. Chris, let's make some noise for Brad Anderson!
Brad! Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank
How
you
you
very
doing,
much.
Brad?
Awesome.
I'm gonna start off with a non-comic book question first. But when you're not busy creating the top-selling title of 2020, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh man, for fun. I like watching sports, drawing, painting. I like working in Procreate, just doodling stuff. Spend time with my wife and kids outside. So usually when I'm not at the desk, I like to be outside. So either,
So what are your sports and what are your teams?
it's definitely hockey.
Nice.
I live just outside of Winnipeg, so the Jets are my team right now. NFL, I like the Vikings.
Oh.
Yeah, I watch whatever, whatever's on. World Junior hockey, stuff like that. So yeah, it's good.
It's funny because you got an accent, and I have friends that's from the Midwest, North Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and you have an accent just like you're from Wisconsin or Minnesota. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, before COVID, we'd always go down to Grand Forks and Fargo and stuff like that. It's really close for us, couple-hour drive. I cut lots of grass, stuff like that. Pretty boring, but I'm a kind of a firm believer in having a lot of balance. So if I spend a lot of time in the office, I like to spend equal amount of time outside, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Let's get into three Jokers, man. I gotta tell you, Brad.
Yeah.
I went gaga goo goo over Three Jokers. I'm not lying.
He did.
I'm not lying. I got every single cover, okay?
Yeah.
Every single cover. And you know how many covers you colored? Like 1,000,003.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got them all up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
When did you start designing the premium variants? Because I remember when they first solicited the Three Jokers, it was just an A and B cover, kind of like most of the DC Black Label stuff. And then like the pandemic happened, and then there was an announcement. There was like 9 other covers. So when did you find out you were doing these extra covers?
I think, geez, it was right before. I think Jay might have sent me one and says, "Oh, by the way, you have like 9 more of these to do."
Wow.
What are you talking about? Yeah, because he was going back and forth about doing this instead of having a whole bunch of different artists handle the variants. He wanted to be, okay, well, why don't we just do, and the thing is, I think there was a bunch of delays in shipping, so we had a bunch of time to do extra ones. So he's like, well, why don't we just do them? So he emailed me and says, "Okay, Brad, we got these. Are you down to do them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Of course.
So yeah, it worked out good, and it was nice that we had that time to do it, so we could actually, add. He goes, "Oh yeah, you have about 10 more of or 9 more of these covers to do," and I was like, "Okay, I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever." So yeah, him and Jay and Jeff, they talked a lot about it, and having basically just having Jay and I work on everything was kind of his dream. And I think it worked out. Like, he put out some amazing artwork. The covers were phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Oh my God, I know. So by the end of it, I was getting pretty fast at doing the covers, because I did, 15 or so before.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was good. It came out really nice. And I see a lot of guys, some guys posted online, they had all the covers on the floor and they take a picture of a collected series.
That's me. I'm guilty of that.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. And I was like, man, that looks really good. When they're put all together as one giant poster or one giant image, I'm like, that looks awesome.
So Brad, you've worked with some of the best artists in the biz. Andy Kubert, Gary Frank, and most recently, the incredible Jason Fabak with the Three Jokers. So who decides which artists you work with?
I get a lot of requests where artists ask the editors specifically for me to work on their project.
Pretty awesome.
A lot of times some artists will contact me, like Brad Walker he contacted me and says, yeah, we're going to be doing this detective run. Would you have time in your schedule? Would love to have you work on it. And him and I hung out in San Diego. We had a good chat about upcoming projects. And I'm like, you know what? I think it might work out. The timing might work pretty good. So then you go through the editorial. Is this going to work? Is it okay with everyone? And then it just kind of, yeah.
Wow.
So we got to do the Two-Face story, Brad and I, on Detective. Yeah, Brad's a wicked dude. And for me to work on some of his stuff, it was awesome. I had a good time on it.
It's clear you're the man. You're the man, and you're in demand. Okay. The Three Jokers is beautifully illustrated, and I feel strongly like we've been kind of like on Colorist Row, interviewing a lot of preeminent colorists, you being one of them, and I feel like largely that you guys don't get enough credit. Like maybe outside of like someone like an Alan Sinclair. Because he works hand in hand with Jim Lee, and so he, it's like that. They call him the Trinity. I don't know if you knew that. Like, they call Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alan Sinclair the Trinity, right? Okay, so they're large and in charge. But I feel like your contributions to Three Jokers stand out, man. Like, I have the black and white covers, right? And so you can look at the black and white, and then you can see what the life that you brought to the actual story and the covers, and so I wanted to ask you, do you sit back and appreciate your accomplishments? And the second question is, what, as far as Three Jokers is concerned, what are you most proud of with the whole story?
Oh man, that's a loaded question there. I don't really I don't really like looking at stuff I do. I'm not a big fan of my own work, kind of thing. I'm literally my worst critic. So every time I see something, either in print, it came out too dark, or I didn't mean it for the color to look like this. So I see it online, I'm like, well, it's more like it. I like that, it's brighter and this and that. But Three Jokers was a huge project. I talked to Jay early when it was just first starting to come together. And we went back and forth on some color stuff. And with the Batman stuff, I always keep in mind that it's Gotham, it's dirty, a lot of grit. And then with adding in the bright kind of key colors, the green of the acid, colors of Joker's purple, blood is always a huge factor. I'd like to keep the bloods kind of clean. I think with the Three Jokers, my favorite panel of the entire thing is Batman and Barbara. They're in right when they get caught in the pool scene where all the Jokers are coming out of the hallways.
Yes, that was hard.
That panel alone, I'm like, man, this came out better than I expected, because there were so many people. When I just saw it in black and white, I'm like, oh man, how am I going to handle this? Like, there's so much going on. So I kind of focused them, and if you notice, I put a little mist or a little glow on their lower half, or like the lights coming from the city, to kind of focus them a bit. And yeah, I just thought it was a super creepy scene, and Jay just knocked it out of the park. So I just kind of added to what he did. So yeah.
So when you received the 3 Joker pages from Jason, what was the biggest wow factor moment that, like, flipping through those pages? Could you immediately tell there was like, ooh, that's going to hit hard with the audience?
Well, basically the end of every issue was like, okay, what? Can you do this? Can we do this? Yeah. There might be a really cool scene, like let's say they're in, a sewer or something, and you want a certain kind of lighting on them. And then you flip to a different scene in a hospital, but you kind of want the same color. Well, you really got to flip, and you really got to make sure that each scene stands on its own. Like, it's recognizable. Okay, this is where they are. I know they're in this location because of the color. I found that really difficult in Doomsday Clock, because you had a 9-panel grid, and on one page you had 3 different locations sometimes, and I was like, oh man. So I always had to keep in mind, okay, well, I have to alter the color here in this panel, because even if they were the similar lighting, I would have to change it just so the reader knew that we're in a different location now.